I'm Todd Sylvester.
And I'm Stephen Sylvester.
And I like having long pauses.
What are you talking about?
I don't know.
See, can you tell that I'm coming from a gig? Like, I've got gig energy right now.
What's the longest you've driven in one shot without taking any rest?
Without stopping at all?
Well, I mean, you have to stop for fuel.
But do you mean like without stopping to sleep?
Yeah.
Or stopping for a long time to like stretch your legs?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 14 hours.
That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We just did 16 and a half
Yo!
on the drive back from
Wow.
Ohio.
Okay, geez, you just wanted me to tell you a number so you could flex on me? That's fine.
No, because I didn't know what your answer was going to be. You could have said, "Oh, when we went to Colorado, we didn't stop."
You know, I don't remember. I mean, I think that we switched out drivers for most of those. Or like driving, there was one time where I did the drive up to Minnesota or back from Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. But we always split it up. So I feel like I've done 14 hours in a day before, but I'm not sure.
I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that. There's a book that has just been redone. I think when it first came out, it was like 2004. And then this is I think its third print, so it's been revitalized a little bit, called The Complete Gentleman by Brad Miner. And when you brought up this topic, which is to have one rule of authentic masculinity,
Mm-hmm.
I thought, well, I don't know if I can come up with one, but I can
Okay.
come up with three.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I think I've got one. So
because-
if you want to go first.
No, you need to go first because I'm sure I'll play off of it.
Okay. So I was thinking about the reason why I wanted to talk about the topic is because we've talked about manliness and masculinity and male virtue quite a bit on the podcast. But
Well, it's paterfamilias.
well, yeah. So fair enough. But I also think that if somebody is new to this concept of authentic masculinity and embracing your identity as a man, then what's a way that we could encapsulate it and have something that's easy to digest, easy to understand? So not fulfilling the idea completely, but just giving you a solid indication of like, this is what it means to authentically be a man. So for me, I think that if you wanted the religious answer, then it would be to closely resemble the suffering servant, right?
Well, yeah.
To closely
That's
resemble
beautiful.
the suffering servant.
Yeah.
But that's the strictly religious answer if you understand and recognize the example of Christ, right? So
I don't know if it's strictly religious because you can at least look at him as a historic figure also.
well, fair.
Be the same thing as saying could closely resemble Caesar.
Okay, so for the sake of not having people be like, "Oh, you just mean like that's a religious thing," blah. And look, it doesn't take away from the value of it, in my opinion,
Right.
and how I feel about it.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't want to push someone away from this idea of authentic masculinity just because it's associated with Jesus.
Okay.
So the psychological, or let's say practical version of that, I think would be caring enough about yourself to take care of yourself, but caring less about yourself than you do about other people's well-being.
Okay. I don't know. How is that masculine? I mean, can't someone
Because-
who's feminine do that also?
Yes, they totally could, but the specific way that authentic masculinity is different from authentic femininity because of the role that, and again, we're getting into this like discussion of, oh, you guys think that men and women have roles, and it's like, well, if you're just talking about generalizations about how people act within a society and within a family, then they do. So
Right.
leave me alone. And I think that, yeah, both men and women can authentically like die to themselves and be willing to live for other people. But the way that a man does that specifically is caring about himself enough to take care of himself, meaning you recognize what you need in order to function and do your job, and then go do your job.
Okay.
And it has specifically to do with the needs of others in an external way,
Yeah.
right? So it's not looking inward to the home necessarily or inward to the family. It's looking outward and saying like, how can I help?
Okay.
And so those two things are obviously really similar, but I think authentic masculinity has to be looking outward instead of looking inward.
I fully agree. And Brad Miner's book, The Complete Gentleman, breaks it down into 3 components. He says every man, every gentle man, has to be a warrior, a lover, and a monk.
Okay, that sounds right.
And what it means is, with the warrior, we are called to fight.
Yeah.
And if you don't recognize that, then you don't know who you are as a man, because you're gonna fight. It can be very contained, it can be very controlled, but we are designed to fight. I remember being in a group one time, and a guy walked up and punched me on the shoulder, and the mom that was there, she's like, "Will you stop that? Oh my God!" And I looked at her and I said, "That's how we greet each other." And she goes, "Well, that's ridiculous." And I said, "For a woman, it is. But for a guy, I mean, we're designed. That's how I know I'm alive, by a little bit of pain. Like it's that's how we're designed. So there's going to be a mission. There's going to be something for us to fight for. If not, then I don't think that we're going to function properly. Like there's got to be a battle. Yeah. And that's just how we're designed. The one time that we were at the parking lot when you were little, and maybe we only had like 4 or 5 kids at the time, and we're in a big parking lot, and there was an altercation. I've talked about this before. Like a car slammed into another car, and they did it on purpose. You could tell this was not like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and they got out and there was yelling, and I thought there's going to be gunfire. And immediately, without us saying anything to each other, Mom, as the mother hen, scooped you all into the van. I stepped out in front of all of you, because I thought, if there's gonna be bullets flying,
then
I'm
put
gonna
yourself in between.
I'm gonna take them.
And you didn't even think about it.
No,
because it's instinctual.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Because we're warriors. Now, as lovers, it's not just because we are French and we are supposed to be the lovers. It just means that we are called to gift ourselves. And that's how the propagation of the race continues on. So, I mean, we have to gift ourselves. And to authentically love means, just as you talked about, you need to be concerned about the love of the other. Like what does Mom need? That should be my daily concern. What does Mom need?
And then what's the monk thing?
Now, the monk, this is so cool. We have to be introspective.
Okay.
We have to take time in quiet, and we're not really ourselves unless we have some semblance of a prayer life.
Okay.
We have to have some kind of prayer life. There has to be something where we can realize and focus on the reality that we are not the center of the universe.
Right.
That there is another focus other than us. And this is really important, because a lot of men are gifted and they're very strong, and it's hard not to get full of ourselves.
Right.
And being a monk is the emptying of oneself. That's what it's about. Like, you take some time to pray, you take some time to meditate, you take some time in quiet to focus yourself, because that's how you get gentle. The gentle man has to take some time in prayer.
That makes sense.
Isn't that cool?
It is. I would actually argue that all 3 of those things just logically follow from somebody who's like a man whose perspective is like, how can I help?
Now, I agree. I need more of a breakdown. I need a checklist. I'm the guy that when I'm going to the store, if it's not on the list, it will not be purchased.
Fair enough.
Mom may say, "All right, bottled water. That's the number one thing we need." Yeah. And if it's not on that list, I might bump into the skid of bottled water walking into the store, and it won't happen.
Yep. So
I need to see it. I need to go, okay, like the greatest thing that Mom ever gave me one Valentine's Day is she gave me a love list. She said, because I had asked her, I said, "You have to help me to love you better." And she said, "This is my love list. Do these things, and I feel loved." And I was like, great.
Yes. Oh,
so every day I would read the list. I'm like, "Oh, I didn't rub her feet today. I'm going to go rub her feet."
Yeah.
Yes. Check.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, it's not rocket science. you know?
It's not, but you and I both know.
Well,
It's hard
yes.
to
So
actually make
what I
manifest
mean
in our
what I mean by
lives.
that is it's not complicated, but
Right.
it's definitely not easy either. It's a choice, and I see that now more than ever. I think anybody who's been married for a little while knows that. It's like,
But what's great about, I'll tell you, someone that's been married now for almost 31 years, is you can get into a really good rhythm and you can get on the rails and then protect yourself to stay on the rails. Like, we've got a sliding glass door that it takes a bit of attention because it's old. And you got to vacuum out the track, and then you've got to put some white lithium grease on there. And when you do that, it runs so smooth. It's quiet and smooth, and it opens and closes in a wonderful way, the way that it was designed for. So in marriage, if you do those things to keep it all together and running smooth, things are great. Things are really great.
So maybe that's what authentic masculinity is finding a way to make that happen in whatever your vocation is as a man, right? Make everything run smoothly because you're doing all the right things.
Right. Amen.
As much as you can.
Sounds great. In the comments, let us know if you've got some great ideas on what it means to be authentically masculine.
And thank y'all so much for listening.